Unprepared isn't scripted or edited. There are no redos, and when we screw up, it's going live. This works for our show, but it is no way to run your e-commerce business. Our partner Rewind is here to help. They will help you back up your Shopify store with automated backups of your most important data. Rewind should be the first app you install on your store to protect it from human error, misbehaving apps, or collaborators gone bad. It's like having your very own magic undo button. It's trusted by over 70,000 retailers, from side hustles to the biggest online stores like Gymshark, Gatorade, and Movement Watches. Best of all, if you reply to any of their welcome series and mention Unprepared, you can get your first month free. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unprepared. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and today, welcoming to the show, Harvey from Blueprint. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chase. I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Third time's the charm, right? We'll get this thing done.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So for the uninitiated, what does Blueprint do for its customers?
Sure. So we're an all-in-one e-commerce, SMS, and WhatsApp platform. So we work with consumer D2C brands, and we drive retention and revenue through everything from upselling and automated flows and one-to-one chat, and really just building one-to-one communication and conversation into the e-commerce journey. That's what we do.
Absolutely. But you know what? There's a key component of that, and from my familiarity with the app that you didn't highlight, that is what separates you from the rest of them. If you're in this ecosystem at all, either as a merchant or a consultant, the flavor of the week last year was to build an SMS app. And you guys, while doing that, you guys did it better than everyone else, because there's a certain feature that your app does that I don't think anything else on the market does. So you can kind of share with the...
Yeah, sure. So we enable purchasing in channel. So why that's important is it streamlines the entire purchasing journey. To give some backstory into that, and is that we came from a CPG operator background. So myself, my co-founder Rory, and most of our team have built and managed e-com businesses before. And for us, we had issues around selling online, specifically via Shopify stores. We had issues around one-to-one conversation retention. And the way that our hypothesis to solve that was to enable one-to-one conversation and enable seamless ordering and reordering and upselling and things like that to drive retention. So those two core issues for us. We built it for us as an MVP, as a very rough around the edges MVP, as a CPG brand. A number of years back now, and then decided to really these pain points are all over the place. Tens of thousands of merchants are suffering from the same pain points, and we will build it and democratize it as a SaaS tool. And within that, we didn't really feel there's anything out there that was for us. It was more blast SMS and CTAs and things like that. Whereas actually we wanted to create more of a conversational experience, more of a streamlined experience, more of a like utility-based experience versus just hey, here's a product, here's sales, etc. It was more like, hey, let's have a chat. Do you want to reorder this product in the same way, almost like a concierge service, things like that, where it's more personalized, relevant, and useful. And yeah, that's where we focus. So we predominantly work with Shopify brands at the moment. It's been a pretty crazy start to the year for us and our team.
Absolutely. So to kind of like simplify that for people, the product itself is Blueprint. If you have this installed on your store, essentially what happens is your customers will get a text, and they can reply to that text in English to complete a purchase. So they're not leaving their text message application. They're not going to a website. They're not logging into the store, which would be an amazing lift if the customer is interested in that offer. How are some of the early adopters like finding success? What are they doing? How are they using it?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, exactly that in a really simple sense. There's a few key points that we focus on. So one is just reordering. So what you can do, and what we're seeing from CPG brands, so to take food, beverage, health, wellness, beauty, home, those kind of categories. When it gets to that second and third order, we can start to see average reorder rates. So it might be, it's not just this blanket coverage. It might be for you as a consumer, it's 18 and a half days, because we can see on post ordering data, and actually dropping that message around that time, and you go, yeah, cool, I'd love some more. I'd like to try a different flavor. That's been one of the key use cases. So that was for really what we built in our early days. Is like, okay, so How do we enable very black and white getting from first to second orders? So that's really key. What we've now built, now that infrastructure's there, is that there's just once you start understanding that data and your customers and enable seamless purchasing, things like upselling from a one-time order to a bundle is proving really, really strong. And so as obviously the holy grail here is there might be, especially for CPG brands, there might be an intro offer or a little taster or something like that. Actually jumping to a bundle of the full case or the full product is really critical, and you can have a conversation around that and help that customer through and then upsell them. And then lastly, what's really interesting now is taking those one-time customers, if they've ordered more than twice, more than once, and upsell them to a subscription. And that's been super interesting because I said the holy grail is one time to a bundle. It's really, subscriptions are obviously driving a huge amount of revenue for CPG merchants, and it's really critical. They're your best customers. They're super loyal. They want to chat to you. They evangelize the brand, etc. So yeah, that's what we've been working on, Chase, and that's been a massive breakthrough this year specifically, 2021.
Awesome. And so you say you've mentioned conversational a lot. How much of these messages, these SMSs, are automated, and then what happens if like a real human needs to get involved? How's that work?
Yeah, great point. So there's two elements. So one is that we focus a lot more than perhaps some other solutions on conversation versus just our analogy that we always use. We're less of a speaker, we're more of a microphone. So there's that two-way is pretty critical to what we're building. And then in terms of how that conversation happens, firstly, we see some amazing responses, upwards of like 20, 30, 35% reply rates on certain messages. Feedback messages are suddenly being called by merchants their super fan message because they're now gaining insight and relevant and information onto things that they never had any insight to. Normally, it's just a click or a review, things like that. When that conversation comes in, it can happen in a variety of ways. One, Blueprint in itself is like its own CRM, so you can just chat back easily. You'll get a ping on any of your wherever you're at, might be Slack or just email. It also routes over to your or route in the States over to your CX solution, Gorgeous, Zendesk, whatever that may look like. And then also Blueprint has an AI bot. So if there's things that we can start to see, like we can see this intent or this customer information, we can automate certain things. Now that's still in its infancy, and it's building. We need data and understanding and conversations, but yeah, that's how it all happens. What we see really interestingly now is that because stores are closed and they're now opening up, but stores have been closed for the last X amount of months, and there wasn't that connection. We're seeing founders, CX teams, marketing teams actually having conversation with their customers, deliberately spending time in the dashboard chatting to their customers, not just selling, just conversing. That's been amazing.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm excited to see the growth of your guys' business. Is there anything on the horizon that you want to share, or anything I forgot to ask you today before we go?
Sure, yeah. So one is that we have a big focus as we grow out the team into expanding integration. So we work with Shopify predominantly. We're now expanding into all other platforms and bits and pieces like that. But then I'd also say generally our focus is around being the brains behind this system versus just the brawn of sending things. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to just send messages. We want to send them in a super personalized, relevant, and useful way. And being the brains where we can start to understand the data behind your customers, how we can best serve them, why, and all the pieces around that. That's what we're focused on more. So just more of that, deeper and deeper integrations within Shopify and things like that is what we're focused on mostly. Yeah.
Awesome. Harvey, thank you so much for coming on. We'll touch base in a couple months and see if there's any updates to the platform that you want to share. And if anyone's interested in learning more about the product or just talking to you and picking your brain, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. So we're on blueprint.store. That's our website. You can check out everything we're doing, the case studies, use cases, have a chat with our team. And then me specifically, I'm on Twitter as Harvey Hodd, Hodd, or just drop me an email directly. I'm on Harvey@blueprint.store.
Awesome. Thank you so much.